This video will give you directions for how you're going to start with your literature review portion of your action research project. So there are three different sections that I'm going to talk about, and I'll try to keep each one as brief as I can. The first section is your reference list, and what I have on the screen in front of you are the references for the books that we are using in our class, because they are in our syllabus, but they do have some errors. So by going through these errors, I'm hoping that I can show you how to fix it for you. These first four are books, and the errors that these have primarily are in the way that it's capitalized, because the books are capitalized the way that we normally think of capitalizing a title, and they're italicized. The italicization is correct. However, the capitalization is not. So you only capitalize, where did that go? Okay, you only capitalize the first word, and then you would capitalize anything that is the name, a proper name. So the informal reading inventory assessment is a proper name, and we would capitalize that. So, but intervention strategies to follow would not be capitalized. All of the name of the book is italicized, so the second edition, then there's a period, the city, and the publication. Okay, so for Clay, it's running records for classroom teachers. You only capitalize the first word. Now, if these were proper nouns, we, of course, would capitalize them. Leslie and Caldwell, qualitative reading inventory, again, that is the name of something. So we're going to leave that capitalized. But in Opitz and Rosinski, the goodbye round robin does not get capitalized. Okay, 25 effective oral reading strategies, that is done correctly. The final thing about this reference list is I'm going to highlight the whole thing. I'm going to go up to the top. You won't see this where it says format on a Mac, and I'm going to select paragraph. Now you'll see I have indentation, and I'm going to choose hanging indent, and then you'll see what that does. So for the references that run over to the second line, they're given a hanging indent. If you're going to do an article, and you should be choosing primarily articles for your literature review, what I've done is a reference for the article that you read for Thursday, February 16th, the Winters article. So you have the last name of the author, the first initial. You never put anything more than the first, and sometimes the second, the middle initial. You don't put their name. Then there's a period there, the date of publication, another period, the title of the article. Again, it's only capitalized on the first word. If there's a colon in the title, you capitalize the first word after the colon, and again, you capitalize all proper nouns. The reading teacher is the title of the journal, and that gets capitalized. The next thing is the volume number, and all of the title of the journal as well as the volume number gets italicized. In parentheses, we have the issue number, then a comma, and these are the page numbers, and you don't put any P or PG or anything, you just put the numbers. This article appeared on pages 685 to 690, and then you have another period, and it's indented. Okay, the next part is finding your articles. So you're going to use the library database. Be sure to check when you're doing your search peer-reviewed articles for your sources. That way you can be sure that you will only be looking at peer-reviewed articles. Do not use articles that you find on the internet unless they are peer-reviewed articles. And if you're not sure, you can ask me. I'll be glad to help you figure that out. Search for various words. So for example, if you're working on comprehension, you may try comprehension strategies. You may try elementary school along with comprehension. You may try read aloud strategies. You may try pre-reading. all of those different words that you can think of, try those in different searches and see what you come up with. I find that if you do your search so that it gives you the most recent articles first, then you probably will find 5 articles that you need that are relatively close to the beginning of what you're looking at, and you can let the rest of those articles stay. Okay, if you need help, send me your topic and I'll give you some authors that you can look for that have written on this topic. Sometimes having an author's name makes it a little easier to search, and if you find one good article and you're not sure about others, you can look at who did this author cite, who is important to this strategy in the reference list at the end, and that may give you another way to look for articles. Now, what are you going to do once you find your articles? You need to digest them, and you need to think about how you're going to put that into a literature review. So for each article, I want you to pick out 3 to 5 important ideas and put these onto note cards. You can do this electronically or you can do it on paper. For this project, I would use paper, I think, because you can move them around and actually see what it is that you want to see with your themes. So after exploring the note cards, you'll begin to see some themes. And now you're ready to begin to write. So you write a brief introduction where you introduce the topic and give some background on it. And you should also give some kind of hook to the topic. So interest your reader. Why would they want to read about strategies for comprehension? Think about what interests you about this, and you might use that as your hook. And then in the introduction, you're going to have a sentence toward the end where you tell what you're going to be writing about. For example, if you're writing about reading comprehension, you may say that within this paper I'm going to address 3 areas of reading comprehension, and they are motivation, pre-reading strategies, and post-reading strategies. So that might be a part of your introduction. Then, as I said here, you're going to use headings for these different themes. And for each different topic or theme, you're going to first transition in. So first, I'm going to talk about motivation. Then you blah, 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 blah. You have all this stuff about motivation. And at the end, you may say something like, in the next section, I will be addressing pre-reading strategies. So you transition to the next topic. Wherever you can, you make connections between the 2 different topics or headings or themes or whatever it is that you want to call them. And then under each heading, you should be referencing at least 2 of your 5 sources. So most likely these sources will be referenced in more than one heading. So for example, if you have a paper by Rosinski and he's talking about fluency, you may be addressing the Rosinski paper when you talk about using reader's theater as a strategy. But you may also be using Rosinski's paper when you're talking about why fluency is important to the area of comprehension. How do you do your references in text? So this section you can use when you're doing your reference in your lesson plans as well. So these are some things that I've been seeing. What you want to do is you want to use the author's last name. You don't use the author's first name, you just use the author's last name and the date of publication. So for example, from the Winters article, you could say, Winters says that vocabulary is exciting if children are exposed to root words. So of course, as this is a direct quote, you would do it like this. It's not, but Winters says, quote, vocabulary is exciting if children are exposed to root words. You don't put a period here, you put your quotation mark and then your parentheses P16, parentheses, that's where your period goes. Okay, you don't say, in his article, whatever the title of the article is, Winters says. You just say Winters, because if somebody's reading this and they get to the end, they see your reference list. And they see the name of the article, they see where the article was published. You don't put any of that in the body of what you're writing. Now, if what you're referencing has more than one author, like for example Caldwell and Leslie, you're going to use both of their names. And notice here, because it's in the body of what I'm talking about, I use the word and. Caldwell and Leslie talk about the importance of tying strategies to assessment data. But you could do it just by stating the fact. It is important to tie strategy work to assessment data. And then you reference Caldwell and Leslie. So when I put their names in parentheses, I use the ampersand instead of the word and. So there's a slight difference there. But when there's two authors, you always use both authors' names every time you cite them. If there's 3 or more authors, you use all the authors' last names the first time, but then you just put the first author's last name and et al. So the first time you would say Baer, Templeton, Inverness, and Johnston, 2008, then whatever it is they said. That's what you would do the first time. Then I'm going to put this. Oh, okay. Why did it do that? Okay. Then, if you're citing Baer and his fellow authors again, you're going to say Baer et al., 2008, and then your blah, 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 whatever it is that they had to say. Okay, so those are some hints for you. Next week, we're going to go over some of your note cards and think about how you can put that together, but it would be a good idea for you to get started on looking for some references and get started in thinking about how this paper is going to be put together.